Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we have reached the end of another week, and it is time once again to do our weekly ritual here on Friday, and that is go over some of the headlines that I read from the NFC North Division this week. It is once again time for Weekly North News. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome into the 25th edition of Weekly North News. We have reached our first real milestone in this series that we began back in January. We're going to do the traditional format once again for this week where we cover one headline per team out of the NFC North Division. These are some of the headlines that I've been reading. Feel free at the end of the video to leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these stories, and maybe there's some other stories out there that you saw that you might want to include in the discussion. So let's begin. I'm going to try to do this rather quickly because it is raining cats and dogs over here in Northeast Ohio today, where it's just absolutely banging off the house and it's making a lot of obnoxious noise. I waited a little later to do this hoping it would quit, but no, it just keeps on going. It's never going to stop. Well, at least I don't have to mow the lawn. There's that. All right, so anyway, let's get into the headlines of the week. We're going to begin with the top spot. That's going to go to the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings headline of the week is: a grand jury date has been set for Jeff Gladney in his assault case. And this is the first real update we have gotten about Jeff Gladney and his legal troubles since they were actually reported and he was actually arrested. So it has been radio silence since then. And we've been talking about this for a long time. We sort of came to terms with the idea that we weren't going to learn any real significant details about this case until the court decided that it was time. And we finally have some news. His grand jury date has been set for July 22nd, so that is rapidly approaching. That will happen in the next week or two. And then that's significant itself to note because Vikings training camp opens on July 28th. So that is 6 days before the Vikings get their training camp underway for the 2021 season. Now, what does this mean for the future of Jeff Gladney on the Minnesota Vikings? I'm still of the mindset that he's doomed. I don't think he's going to be able to participate with the Minnesota Vikings this year. I don't think that they'll outright cut him, even though that they probably really want that roster space. But it's a day-by-day situation, I think, at this point, as it has been. And I don't think that's really going to change unless some kind of, unknown detail about the case or some sort of phone call, text message, we learned something that would leave the Vikings no choice but to show their hand and make a decision, right? So, and we've seen, instances in the past where that has happened. The Kareem Hunt ordeal in Kansas City is one of those things where nothing really significant happened to him until we saw the video. So if there is a video, maybe some text messages, something like that out there waiting in the winds, I think that could cause public perception to turn and force the Minnesota Vikings hand into making a decision. But for right now, that is the update that we have, and we haven't had one, as I said, since the beginning of this ordeal. So Jeff Gladney's trial date, or grand jury date, is set for July 22nd. Moving on, we go to the Windy City with the Chicago Bears. Their headline of the week, as was sort of the headline last week, but now we have confirmation on that. Their headline of the week in Chicago is that Allen Robinson and the Chicago Bears have not reached a deal, and Allen Robinson will be playing this year on the franchise tag. So the deadline to reach an extension or to ink him to a new deal has come and gone. So Allen Robinson will be playing this year on the franchise tag. And I think for the long-term future, this sort of just kicks the can down the road for Allen Robinson and the Bears. But I think that this is going to end in divorce. I really do. I think that if they wanted to make a deal happen, they would have. I don't know any of the details of what they offered. If they tried to offer anything, maybe they lowballed him. I'm not sure about that yet. We will probably learn some more about that in the weeks or months to come. But I don't know if this creates a distraction. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll have to see how it goes. I think that the catalyst is going to be Justin Fields, because we know Andy Dalton is not the long-term solution at quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I think if Allen Robinson is going to stay in Chicago, which is hard to see that happening, there's going to have to be some change in the organization, and that change would be Justin Fields taking over as the starting quarterback for the Bears sooner than later, and maybe even a change in the front office with Ryan Pace, and maybe Matt Nagy being exiled as well. So we'll have to see. This is going to be an interesting season for the Bears to see how they do, whether or not Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace keep their jobs, and how soon Justin Fields takes over as the starting quarterback. And I think those three things are what we have to keep an eye on to see whether or not Allen Robinson is going to want to stay in Chicago or move on to greener pastures. So let's move on next to the Detroit Lions. Their headline of the week, for the third week in a row, this dude is going to win Employee of the Month for the NFC North at this rate. We're once again talking about TJ Hawkinson. The headline of the week for the Detroit Lions is that TJ Hawkinson was named a top 5 tight end in an ESPN survey of NFL insiders. Now, we can, of course, easily, criticize and critique and dismiss ESPN doing anything, and especially when, you have these buzzwords related to stories like this, ESPN insiders. Ooh. Fun fact, I get upset every time that I get a notification from my ESPN app about a story that I would really like to read, but you need an ESPN Plus subscription or whatever the hell that it is that you need to pay for and get beyond that paywall. It's just like, okay, yeah, I'd really like to read that. Oh, wow, I can't. That's depressing. But anyway, the story here is about TJ Hawkinson and not ESPN. I don't think that this is dismissive at all. I think it's a little early. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be a star this year, given the roster that is surrounded, by Jared Goff in Detroit this year, him coming over from the Rams. He's got a lot less weaponry on the outside than he did in Los Angeles. So I think he's going to be looking to TJ Hawkinson quite a bit. And there's a reason that TJ Hawkinson was drafted where he was in the first round by the Detroit Lions, because he's a very athletic, very skilled tight end with polished receiving skills that he showed off at Iowa. And he was also good at blocking, too. He's really the complete package. Was he drafted a little bit early for my taste? Yeah, kind of. But I think it was definitely the right call at the right time. And I think he's slowly ascending. He's becoming a star. When this all started, with his really good season last year, going to tight end U, befriending George Kittle, some of the more elite tight ends in the league. And so I think the sky's the limit for TJ Hawkinson, and that's why we're talking about him every week, because he's a growing star in this league, and people are going to take notice of him very quickly. Is he a top 5 tight end? Yeah, maybe he's fringe. Maybe he's fringe top tight end, because you figure you got George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and who's the third elite one that's escaping me right now? I can't remember all the tight ends off the top of my head. But there's other guys, like I think Robert Tonyan will probably come back down to reality. And, Darren Waller is definitely elite tight end. Mark Andrews might come down to reality. So, yeah, there is a potential for him to break into the top 5, definitely. And then we're going to end this 25th edition of Weekly North News on a fun note with the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers headline of the week is Devin Funchess breaks world record in flip-flops. He was, if you haven't seen the video yet, you got to go check it out. He caught a football dropped from a helicopter from 750 feet in the air. This is a new world record, breaking the previous record held by, and I didn't know this until I looked it up, Rob Gronkowski, who did this at Arizona. He caught a football that dropped 600 feet from a helicopter. So this breaks that record, shatters it by 150 feet. Or was it 150, or was it 750 yards? It was either yards or feet, whichever increment of measurement that they chose. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. I think it says 750 feet. But anyway, I digress. So this is just sort of a fun thing. It was put on by a charity foundation, so definitely go check out the video. It was just really something fun to watch. It makes me wonder why this record isn't targeted more often, because it seems like something that would be pretty easy, at least to set up an attempt. I'm not saying it's easy to catch a football 750 feet/yards from the air. Lord knows I would not be able to do it. I'd probably be running from the thing, because it would be coming at me like a goddamn Tomahawk missile. But anyway, that's a little fun note to end on with Devin Funchess. After opting out of the 2020 season, he comes back, breaks a world record, and hopefully that, for Packers fans, not for us, but hopefully that transitions onto the field for them this year with some luck and some good fortune, because right now they don't have much of it with the Aaron Rodgers drama. So that concludes the 25th edition of Weekly North News. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.